and the vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer, and he's doing great. He's great shape. He is it's very high spirits, and we told him we love him and respect him, and he's a very proud guy. He's very proud of what he does, Secret Service agent, and we looked at all of the conditions that took place tonight, and I will say, it's not a particularly secure building, and I.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We are listening to President Donald Trump, who is briefing this country and abroad on what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, or what was supposed to be the White House Correspondents' Dinner earlier tonight, where you could hear what appears 4 loud booms that went out. He was evacuated along with the First Lady, Melania Trump, safely. You see beside him Kash Patel. Now, I've read a few posts. Some people believe this was staged. There were also people that believe that this was a coinkydink, if you will, because the attempt, if you will, that happened in Pennsylvania was questioned yesterday. And then, not only that, issues with Kash Patel. So we're going to listen to this and your thoughts and opinions.
They want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room.
Hey there, Joy. How are you, my beautiful?
It's drone-proof. It's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons. But
okay, so he's pressing the need for the ballroom. For those of you that may have been paying attention or have been paying attention, it appears that, hey there, Hassan, how are you? Happy Saturday, perhaps Sunday, depending upon where you are. He's spoken about the ballroom, and there at one time was a temporary hold on that. So we shall see. We shall see.
Today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody.
Please make sure that you double tap your screens and, if possible, hype this. I am in the Washington, D.C. area, but with all of the police activity going on, I was not going out there tonight. Absolutely not. Okay, Hassan, I'll do that. Blessings.
He's ever seen before. But everyone owes a tremendous debt of gratitude to the courage of law enforcement, the law enforcement, and working with the DC police. And we just spoke with the mayor. And when we're finished, the police chief is going to take over and discuss it also from their viewpoint. But they also performed exactly as they were supposed to. And you see the attacker in different positions, but you also see the attacker totally subdued and under control.
So again, I've been down to the White House. Those of you that have watched me live, and I've shown you where there were gates and fences erected. So the question is, how is it possible for someone to have been able to infiltrate and get inside? Do you know how many people were at that dinner? And there are so many people that are still in there. They're cleaning up and clearing out. But again, we'll see what happens. But your thoughts and opinions, please, and thank you.
So as you know, this is not the first time in the past couple of years that our republic has been attacked by a would-be assassin who sought to kill.
So he's already, again, I'm not saying that this is or isn't, but posturing this as an attempt.
In Butler, Pennsylvania, less than 2 years ago, you all know that story, and in Palm Beach, Florida.
Yes, Palm Beach, Florida, and Butler, Pennsylvania, that just came up. So that is why many people are stating that it appears to be coincidental. for those of you that have followed me, I don't believe in coincidence. Never have, never will. Again, Washington, D.C., this is where I'm from, so we shall see what happens after all is said and done. But I just put up a short, and at the very beginning of the short, you will hear what appears to be four, 1, 2, 3, 4 loud bangs. He's still speaking. And if you scan the room, to me, it took this detail, to me, an extremely long amount of time to get to him. So if someone really, really wanted to do damage with the time it took, and you can look on Google, there's a plethora of clips. They would have done so. I have concerns now, even though he's not my favorite individual, but I have concerns with that security detail and security period with this administration.
Months after that came close. We really had, again, we had some great work done by law enforcement. But in light of
I'm doing well, Joy. How are you, my beautiful?
this evening's events, I ask that all Americans recommit with their hearts in resolving our difference peacefully. We have to resolve our differences. I will say, you had Republicans, Democrats, independents, conservatives, liberals, and progressives. Those words are interchangeable, perhaps, but maybe they're not. But yet, everybody in that room, big crowd, record-setting crowd. There was a record-setting.
Absolutely. Again, for those of you that are just joining in, there was supposed to be a White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight at the White House, but due to what appears to be loud shots, the president and First Lady Melania Trump were safely evacuated, and he's speaking on that now.
Group of people, and there was a tremendous amount of love and coming together. I watched, and I was very, very impressed by that. But we were, First Lady and I were taken very well care of very quickly.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to say very quickly, but once the Secret Service did get to them, yes, they were ushered out quickly. But to me, it took longer than it should have.
Quickly rushed off the stage. Vice President J.D. Vance, who's here, was likewise beautifully done. He was just saying how quickly everybody acted, law enforcement, Secret Service in particular in this case, but law enforcement. Marco had the same thing. Pete was there. Pete didn't want any help. He didn't want anybody to help him. He doesn't want anybody to help him, but he did get some, didn't you? And I think you also said that it was very impressive. So with that, I'd like to ask Todd Blanche to come up, say a few words, and tell you it's already underway.
So, according to unconfirmed reports, I'll say that to be prudent and responsible, that they're going to reschedule in 30 days. Again, this White House Correspondents' Dinner that was interrupted by what appears to be shots. Again, it begs the question how this was even possible. Is supposed to be rescheduled in 30 days.
The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California, and he's a sick person, a very sick person.
And so it appears that the individual responsible for this has been apprehended, and preliminary reports, again, to be prudent and responsible, it appears that he may hail from California.
And we don't want things like this to happen. I think it's very important that I say, though, and I told the representatives of the evening, they did such a beautiful job with such a beautiful evening. And again, they're talking about free speech in our Constitution. That's what it's all about, not just White House correspondence. It was really based on free speech in our Constitution. but I said very importantly that we'll do it again within the next 30 days, and we'll make.
So, yes, he's confirming what I just said earlier in the broadcast, that they will try to do this again in 30 days. Those of you that are just coming in, welcome. This is President Donald Trump, who is giving his briefing after what appears to be shots that occurred at the White House Correspondents' Dinner right here in Washington, D.C., maybe an hour, not even 2 hours ago. The time is now 10:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Washington, D.C. Again, this is President Donald Trump speaking.
Get bigger and better and even nicer. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved. I also want to thank the press, the media. You've been very responsible in your coverage. I will say, seeing what's been out, you've been very responsible. So Todd Blanche, I'd like to say a few words. I know we're going to have cash. And
we have Todd Blanche, who's coming up, and then I was going to say something bad, but I'm going to leave Cash Patel alone right now, but I don't give too much credence as to what he's going to say. Hopefully he's had nothing to drink tonight but water.
Then you're going to go on. We can ask, I guess we can take a couple of questions. I want to thank the First Lady for, that was a rather traumatic experience for her. There's a lot of action taking place up there very quickly. But again, the response time was really incredible.
The response time when they got to him, absolutely. Prior to that, in my opinion, absolutely not. They took too long. At the very beginning of my short, you can hear what it sounds to be 4 loud bangs. He was still talking and smiling. He wasn't even aware. And yes, there was a crowded room full to capacity, but still, those were loud bangs. Again, at the beginning of my short, you will hear them. Buck says it's not going to stop until the Dem leaders stop with the, okay, well, welcome, Buck. Thank you so much for your input.
And we're going to reschedule. We're going to do it again. We're not going to let anybody take over our society. We're not going to cancel things out, because we can't do that. We wanted to stay tonight. I will tell you, I fought like hell to stay, but it was protocol. They said, please, sir.
Hey there, Kalei, my beautiful.
There was a lot of action.
How are you?
Going on.
Happy Saturday, perhaps Sunday for you. Those of you that are coming in, please make sure that you like, especially hype if you're able to, and comment on your thoughts as President Donald Trump, President of the United States, and the First Lady had to be evacuated after what appears to be shots rang out at the White House Correspondents' meeting tonight in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. We're listening to President Trump give his briefing. And I think next on deck is Todd Blanche.
I didn't know, could there be probably a lone shooter, but we'll find out. We'll find out very quickly. They have it very well under control. So I want to thank everybody very much. And Todd Blanche.
Blessings, Patricia. Happy Saturday to you, perhaps Sunday, depending upon where you are. Absolutely. It's amazing that everyone is safe. Washington, D.C., though, I must say, has not been safe for the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of issues going on. So let's continue.
Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Tonight you saw the very worst and the very best of this country. You saw the very worst by the actions of that coward that the president just talked about. But you also saw the very best because you saw law enforcement do exactly what they're supposed to do. And you'll see the videos come out, I expect, very shortly, and you'll see law enforcement do exactly what we want them to do. And so I echo what President Trump just said, that we are extraordinarily grateful and appreciative of the men and women of law enforcement that did their jobs tonight, including one who was injured. This investigation is ongoing.
So it appears,
I expect you will see charges filed shortly. The charges should be self-evident. given the
So it appears, according to Todd Blanche, that there was an officer, I'm going to assume an officer, that sustained an injury. Let's continue.
conduct. But as you'll hear, there will be multiple charges surrounding the shooting, around the possession of firearms, and anything else that we can get on this guy. The investigation is obviously ongoing and just started. There's federal law enforcement already working on search warrants and doing their job, and I don't want to get ahead of them and don't want to get ahead of the work that they're doing even as we speak. Director Patel and I were just on the crime scene a short while ago, and everybody in this room should rest assured that the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, Secret Service, everybody's on the scene doing their job. I know that the police chief is going to give an update from the scene as soon as we're finished here, and I obviously will lead the details of what they have learned to him. But in the meantime, I just want to thank everybody in this room for the courage, and I want to thank President Trump for his words, and I promise you, justice will be served. Thank you.
That was Todd Blanche, and unfortunately, we have Kash Patel next on deck.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr. President. The President's absolutely right. You saw the best resolve of American law enforcement because you, Mr. President, inspire them 24/7, 365. You give them the resources that they need, and they know that you have their back. And that is a changing dynamic in this country, and that's why you saw brave Secret Service agents respond immediately, swiftly, subdue and take down the suspect, and safeguard the lives of thousands of individuals at that hotel. Thanks to our interagency partnership with the Department of Homeland Security and the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI was rapidly deployed onto the scene, took over the evidence response unit, is examining all the ballistics that were found on scene to include the long gun and the shell casings. We are conducting witness interviews as we speak. You will hear from our team on the scene there with the mayor and the head of the FBI field division there. But please know what the Attorney General has just said reigns no truer. You saw the very best of America tonight. The very best unite us at a time of uncertainty, because we have leadership here with the President, the Vice President, that backs law enforcement, and the men and women that I shook their hands on the scene today could not have been prouder to show up on scene. And as the Attorney General said, make no mistake, we are conducting witness interviews. If you have any information whatsoever.
See, Kash Patel, this is where you continue to put your foot in your mouth. It hasn't even been 2 hours yet, and you're spewing out things that are not even accurate.
Related to this event, 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. No piece of information is too small. No piece of information is inadequate. We will evaluate it all. We will also be conducting interviews of those that were there. And if any of those individuals have information, please come forward to law enforcement or the FBI or the Metropolitan.
Kash Patel, I hope you have the same energy, because I don't think many people, the American people, have forgotten about the Epstein file investigation. So let's not forget about that, okay? Okay, because I'm not.
Police Department. We will be examining this individual's background thoroughly. That process has already started, and we are going to ensure that he was either a lone wolf actor or anyone else that was responsible. We will analyze all evidence immediately to make sure that we safeguard this country. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, thank you for your leadership, Attorney General.
But to safeguard the country, but still at a White House, any type of event, how was someone able to get in there with the 2 weapons you just described, Kash Patel? Odd. Very odd and concerning.
My Secretary Mullen, thank you for your partnership in law enforcement.
Okay, we'll do a couple and then we go to the chair. Madam Chairman. Oh, I just want to say you did a fantastic job.
There's Soup Bone. Soup Bone, how are you? A lot of people have been saying the same thing. Staged, and I'm not going to say that. Immoral. The process to botch the investigation is underway, unless it's a real liberal lunatic. Absolutely. As I said, I'm literally 15 minutes away from the DC line to get to the Capitol. Well, actually, I'm 10 minutes from the Capitol, but to get on over to the White House, not far. But I'm not going to get caught up in that mess. Nope, not gonna do it. I could hear literally some sirens from here, some aircraft, of course, not a lot, which again, I'll speak about later, is a bit odd with something like that. You would expect to hear, especially in this proximity, more aircraft, but you didn't. You hear it other times, but for this particular case, absolutely not. So let's listen to President Trump once again. Thank you all who have been commenting. And absolutely, Soup Bones. This is something I said earlier. That was questioned. Butler was questioned. And this happened. I did a piece yesterday. I think I still kept it up about Pissy Patel, Cash Patel, and his own admittance to being arrested twice earlier when he was much younger as it relates to alcohol. And we know that he has a lawsuit, a defamation lawsuit going on. So again, the timing of this is quite bizarre, quite interesting. And again, I am not one to believe in coincidence at all.
To reschedule. After that, it's very tough for her to ask a killer.
And Mad Rush says, and welcome, Mad Rush. Thanks, Dems. You just raised this ratings with crazy pew pew men being a TDS lefty. Well, we don't know yet, even though Cash Patel is putting it out there. And then Todd Blanche mentioned about they're getting the search warrants together. But President Trump said at the earliest part of the broadcast that they're going to his, or they've gone to his apartment, and apparently he's from California. So how did the president know all of this? And then Todd Blanche comes up behind him and talks about a search warrant. And then Cash Patel is like, well, if he ain't any more information, call 1-800-FBI. It just seems to be a little bit odd to me, but hey, who am I? Well, I did work as a contractor at the FBI years ago in a skiff, so I know a little teeny weeny bit, and something about this smells odd, but we'll see. We'll see.
Question, right? But you have done a fantastic job, please.
I appreciate it. As you mentioned, it all happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, Patricia. You're absolutely right, and we all have a right to opinions.
I wonder, especially because fortunately you have experience with these sorts of threats, in that moment when you realized there was a threat and service agents were telling us to get down, can you describe what was going through your mind, how you were feeling in that moment?
That's a very good question. Actually, it's always shocking when something like this happened to me.
Hey there, Sam.
And
Sam says
I've never-
Democrats orchestrated this.
In fact,
And
we're sitting right next to each other. First lady. of
Sam, give me one moment. I don't want to be disrespectful to you. A lot of people are saying that. A lot of people are saying a lot of different things. We won't really know until the investigation is done, but something seems to be, well, we'll just wait.
And I heard a noise and sort of thought it was a tray. I thought it was a tray going down. I've heard that many times.
Now, see, this is where I'm going to have to stop you
And it was from quite far.
respectfully, President Trump, because you did not hear those 4 bangs in the beginning. You were still speaking to the man that was holding something in his hand, because it's up on my short. You didn't know until someone came to you. Your wife didn't even hear that noise. So let's be careful. Let's be very careful, because audio and video, they don't, well, sometimes, let me not say that. It can be manipulated, but no, what's been put out first, it hasn't been manipulated. And Patricia says, I'm not one for jumping to conclusions. Absolutely.
He hadn't reached the area at all. They really got him. But so it was quite far away, but it was a gun. And some people really understood that pretty quickly. Other people didn't. I was watching to see what was happening. Probably should have gone down even faster. Melania was very cognizant, I think, of what happened. I think she knew immediately what happened. She was saying, it's a bad noise. And we were whisked away along with other people, but we were really whisked away. And again, the performance of the Secret Service and the police, all of the law enforcement, I thought was really good. So it was very quick. There wasn't a lot of time to be thinking because it was a matter of seconds before we were out the door and gone into it.
So he is being extremely accurate on that. When they got to him and the first lady, they were out of there quickly. But prior to, and you can look at some other posts and other people commenting on this, they took a little bit of while to get to them. So again, there, to me, from my optics, and I could be wrong, I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. To me, it took longer than I think is acceptable to get to the president and the first lady. Let's continue.
That area. We very much, and you wanted to too, we very much wanted to continue it because I don't like to let these sick people, these thugs, these horrible, horrible people change the fabric of our life, change the course of what we do. So we held out. You were there. We held out right till the end, but they didn't want to take a chance, and I understand it was protocol. But we're going to be doing one hopefully within the next 30 days or sooner. And I am ready, willing, and able. And I was all set to really rip it. As I said.
So that is, hold on, let me put this back up. That is what has happened tonight in Washington, D.C. at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What appears to be, I'll just say, unconfirmed reports of shots that rang out. And the President Donald Trump, and his wife, Melania, were evacuated safely and expeditiously. The investigation, as you heard from President Donald Trump, Todd Blanche, and Kash Patel, is ongoing. There was a mention of search warrants. There was a mention of apartments and possibly this individual being from California. There will be, or is presently, witness interviews, and Kash Patel, FBI director, has mentioned if anyone has any information to make sure that they contact the FBI. Hey there, working bum. Who knows? I think he spouted out a little bit too much once again, but again, that's just my opinion. Maybe that's just how he is. Anyway, a lot to unpack. There's going to be a lot of spins and narratives, but if I were you, I would strongly encourage you to look at a lot of the earlier videos that were posted and dissect them from every angle possible. The angle in which I saw and I posted, those shots rang out, or what appeared to be shots rang out. The president nor his wife heard them at first. They were still speaking to someone who was holding a small piece of paper in his hand. It wasn't until maybe 30, 40 seconds later, until someone came up to them, that they knew about it. So again, look at the videos that are circulating and come to your own conclusion. Washington, D.C., for those of you who might be wondering, it's not a safe time right now. Keep in mind, I've said this before, coming from an intel background, anytime you have anniversaries of things that have happened And as a matter of fact, I need to find the timestamp. I think it was on my last political live stream. I said that normally this is when things happen, whether it's staged or not, I don't know. But even if that, let's just say it was, you still run the risk of people getting injured or having health issues because anxiety and fear is real, and it can cause people to experience emergency health issues. So whether it was or wasn't, I don't know. Only the Creator knows. As Patricia said earlier, at least as we know, there was no loss of life, which is a good thing. No matter how you feel about any party or any person, we've heard enough stories about loss of life here lately, and I don't think anyone wants to hear anymore. But as I was mentioning about attacks or things that are postured as attacks or things happening, they normally come around anniversary dates. There was an anniversary date that just passed, April. And for those of you who are not familiar about what I'm speaking about, it was a horrible, horrible, horrible incident years ago at the Alfred P. Murrah building in Oklahoma. People who tend to plot and plan, they do it in or around anniversary dates. And this is something that I said maybe a week, maybe not even a week ago. So keep that in mind. Hey there, John says, crisis actors. Again, that may be something that people are going to be speaking about later. If you look at some people that might be live now, like I said, I could throw something on and go down DC, but I'm not. I'm not going to do it because, as I said, I'm not even far from Andrews Air Force Base, and I haven't heard fighter jet, no aircraft. I have earlier, weeks ago, but tonight, not a peep. Faint sirens, yes, because Pennsylvania Avenue, it's not that far, but no, nothing. So be vigilant. Keep in mind, we have a situation going on now with another country. We have people here that are not really happy with things that are going on. And if what is said is accurate about this individual being from California, keep that in mind. The question is, if security, keep in mind what I'm saying, if security is as stringent as it should be, how someone was able to enter that type of event with not one but two alleged weapons speaks volumes. So keep an open mind about everything, and always, always, always be safe. Not everyone is who you think they may be. You can have someone, as we saw a couple of days ago, that will take an oath to protect and serve, and at the same time have hatred for their fellow man and woman. This concludes this live broadcast. Again, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, just had a press briefing of what appears to be, at least at this time, a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that never actually came to pass, and he would like for it to actually take place in 30 days. Prayerfully, everyone that is downtown DC and in and around that area, to include members of law enforcement, are safe, because we don't know at this time if this person acted alone. And keep in mind, we have a lot of people going through issues. We have people that are copycats. So keep that in mind as well. Just because something appears to have calmed down doesn't mean some person with some real issues is not out there watching and listening. So for those of you who might be in this area, as I am, or anywhere, always be careful. Let me see what Gen X says. Yeah, another mentally ill, deranged Democrat from Los Angeles, as usual. It's always a mentally ill Democrat. That's all they are, is mentally ill. Well, welcome, Gen X, and thank you so much for your comment. Again, there are a lot of people, I'm sure, that will agree with you, and others who may have their own opinions as to the situation tonight here in Washington, D.C. Hey there, Jack. Happy Saturday, perhaps Sunday, depending upon where you are. And Jack says probably the Democrats doing it. So it looks like it's going to be a tug of war, Dems, or perhaps Republicans with their own agendas. Who knows at this times? And Ferris says, working bump, you are MX and stop your BS. Okay, Ferris, don't get too upset. Everyone appears to be safe as it relates to what happened. There was, from what I understand, according to President Trump, an officer, again, this is unconfirmed, that may have sustained an injury, but there was no loss of life. Hi there, Peter. How are you? Happy Saturday, perhaps Sunday, depending upon where you are. Everyone, please make sure that you double tap your screens or consider dropping a like before you leave. And for those who may catch the replay, your comments are welcome. As I mentioned, everyone, please be safe out there. And this is going to be talked about the remainder of the weekend, and I am sure well into next week after the investigation gets deeper in. I have a feeling that there's going to be a manifesto found, a diary, a journal, cell phone records, the usual things. But again, it's just my opinion. Thank you. And Peter says, I recently watched one of your shows. I was just wondering, are you in recovery? I am fighting challenges every day. Absolutely. And I give thanks every day. Any other questions? Oh, Bill comes in. Hey there, Bill Button. Cute name. Happy Saturday. How? Oh no, there are so many low IQ Democrats fighting against President Trump, making America great. It's pathetic. Again, I'm sure that there are many people that will agree with Bill. Yes, Peter. Yes, every opportunity that I get, I will go out and enjoy dinner, a lunch, a comedy show. You only get one chance. And the days that I feel good after a long day of work, yes, I treat myself. Absolutely. That was actually this way. Alpha says, and welcome to you, Alpha, Trump is my king. Okay. Welcome to you, Alpha. And a lot of people agree with you. Others do not. But again, as I said, we all have our opinions. And Peter says, nothing wrong with that. I have 7 years of needles recovery. Okay. Well, as long as you have a positive mindset and faith in doing the things that you need to do, that's the important thing. At the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, you are who really matters. But I thank everyone for tuning in. Again, this is another situation that's happened here in Washington, D.C. I think I said on my last live political stream that ICE and the National Guard is still here heavily. You may not see a lot of them, but they're still here. And DA has come in and is laughing, not really sure, but laughter is medicine too. So this is 41 minutes in, and I just wanted to go over the briefing and a quick summary of what's happened or what's reported as happening. So I'll get another couple of comments. And Peter Wood says, it was all the Lord. I gave him all the credit. I used to be a mega big Trump supporter. Not anymore. I cannot stand that man. Well, I'm going to say this. I don't know people personally, so I can't say that I don't like them. I'll say that I don't like their behavior. And sometimes I have to check myself and make sure that I remember to say that, because we're all human. Well, I believe most of us are. And we have our own nuances and ways about ourselves. We're not going to please everyone. You can be the best of the best. Somebody's always going to find a problem with you. Gnome says, I don't like Trump. And Bill Button says, Trump 2028. Well, Bill, I hope your hopes and dreams come to fruition, but let's get through 2026 safely first, and then we can forge ahead to 2027 and then 2028. What happened tonight here in Washington, D.C., even though people are smiling and there was no loss of life, how do we know that this wasn't what people in Intel says, a dry run? Because obviously something was breached. That, to me, should be one of the main focal points. Yes, find out the identity. See if the individual was working with any groups, if he was sympathetic, or she, or whatever they identify with, is sympathetic to any group, before we really start saying for sure, because we don't know for sure. But that, I would believe, that would be a start. Yes, Peter Wood. He and the first wife were evacuated because what appears to be shots were fired at the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. And it was a packed venue. So as I said, thankfully, there was no loss of life. But keep in mind, we have sick people out there, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm being very serious, where people tend to copy what they see. They get motivated by situations such as this. So even though the incident tonight is, for all intents and purposes, over, we don't know, because we don't know what's in the minds of other people. And biggest complainer says, whatever they identify with, LOL, you are the problem. No, because we don't know what people identify with. I don't want to say it was a him or a her because I don't know. I don't know. And Bill Button says, do you know what the 22nd Amendment says? And BS says, lies, clickbait. Sorry you feel that way, Tony Touch or Touche. And William P.A. says to the folks using the words fascism, tell me, how was he a fascist? One example. And then family says, and welcome family, welcome William, welcome Tony, and the spookly anarchy. Family says Trump is only capable of fooling stupid people. Okay, well, I'm going to let you all have your say in the chat for a few more minutes. And Peter, I'm sorry about that, says, I mean, I can understand, look at all he's doing. And biggest complainer, piece of crap. And Peter Wood says, Trump is not a fascist. He's an authoritarian. Ollie, who was the Pure, a member of the British government? I don't know. I'm sure the investigation is really in its beginning stages. President Trump said at the beginning of the briefing that people have already gone to an apartment. I don't know if it's the individual's apartment. He said something about possibly being from California. I don't know where he was able to obtain that information, but we'll see as it goes on. And David says, more Trump distraction. Welcome, David. So I'm going to let you all continue to chat among yourselves. Again, there's a lot of information that is circulating, and by the time a lot of people start blogging or vlogging, they're going to have their opinions again. One, a lot of people believe that this was staged. I cannot say that. And there are a lot of people who believe that this was an attack by the Dems. I cannot say that because I don't know. We don't know. We just have to wait until and trust that a thorough, accurate investigation is completed. Welcome to Corey, Mikey, Cozy, Jack. All right, you all play nice in the chat. Play nice in the chat. But again, your thoughts and opinions. Oh my goodness. Cozy Monk. Absolutely. And let me put you on the stage. That is the $250 million question. And yes, I'm being funny about that. What does $250 million have to do with this conversation? Anyone know? Anyone take a gander about $250 million and who $250 million is associated with? Pissy Patel. that too. But absolutely, Cozy Monk, how do you? I asked the question, how does someone breach Second and Independence Avenue like it appeared to be in January, 5 years back? I'm here in Washington, D.C., and I still don't understand the answers that I've heard about that. But thank you for that question. And Family Chan says the whole world misses the leadership of Obama. Trump. Now, I was going to put that up on the screen, but I cannot do that. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm not going to wish anyone to perish in a very, very, very hot place. No matter how I may feel about something, the Creator renders final judgment, in my opinion. And OEO, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, says it was held at the Hilton in DC, not the most secure. Washington, DC has security everywhere to include grocery stores. So when you have a venue like that, you have meetings with Secret Service and your jocks and things like that. So again, that you go through security, strong security at the museums. So again, it's a lot to unpack. So we'll see. Family, you're going to have to cool it. Cool it with the comments now. Hi there, John Dubs. Hi there, Karen. Karen, I'm going to put you up on the big screen, not being disrespectful, but just to see if anyone agrees with your sentiment, and I'm sure there are many who do and others who will not. But that's a lot to talk about tonight and the remainder of the weekend. Again, I may mosey through there tomorrow just to see. Oh, you're welcome, John Dubs. And let's see who else. Hey there, Jerry. And Louie, welcome. Says, get him out to the nearest jail. And Karen says, Jesus rebuke you, Satan. Okay, watch it now. Karen says, liars lie, followers follow. Hey there, City. Welcome to everyone. And Mikey says, Biden was a demon, dementia-ridden psychopath. Oh my goodness. And City says Trump leads. Louie says, you get what you give. And Toto, welcome Toto, says every time the SWAT team in black comes out, it's a psyop. Okay, Karen. Well, you all, again, thank you so much for tuning in And as I said, I may go down there tomorrow just to see if I can get any intel as to any developments that may not be posted later on into the night. But thank you again so much for everyone that is tuned in. And as I mentioned, everyone, please be safe and be vigilant. We're living in crazy times right now, uncertain times for many. Those of you that are just coming in and may be wondering, it appears from statements made by our President of the United States, President Donald Trump, that there were shots fired at the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. That dinner did not take place because of this incident. The individual responsible, allegedly, has been apprehended, and there's an investigation ongoing. And that's all of the information that I have at this time. Yes, Robert Morissette, welcome. Happy Saturday, perhaps Sunday, depending upon where you are on the globe. Thank God he is okay. The first wife, who was sitting right next to him, is okay, and everyone else, that there was no reported loss of life. So we're going to see if this individual, as I mentioned earlier, is indeed from California and is living here in Washington, D.C. We have a lot of people living here in D.C. from many, many states. We'll see if there's a manifesto, if they are going to go through, if not started already, his social media accounts to see if he's been sympathetic to any type of groups, if there's any indication of mental health or issues he may have with the current administration, if he's sympathetic to Israel, Iran, and every other newsworthy story that's going on. I'm sure the FBI, headed by Cash, the Richmond rowdy routster, will find out. Peter Wood says literally it sucked the life out of him. Edward, hey there, Edward, says, and you know it's just a regretful MAGA man. And T.C. Welcome says, all staged because he wants a ballroom. Now, CT, let me put you up on the Summer Jam. At the very beginning of my broadcast, when the president was speaking, he mentioned something about a ballroom. So I'm sure many people covering the story, when they begin to break down and dissect everything that is going to come out, there's going to be people that are going to mention that the alleged, and I have to say alleged, attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, that was just brought up again. So again, that being brought up, and then this happening tonight, again, it is possible, but we'll see. But yes, the ballroom was a piece of the conversation tonight during President Trump's briefing to the public. Hey there, admin. And admin says, more fakery, useless. Peter Wood says, which is funny that people kept saying that he was in the original White House, not the original White House burned down the War of 1812 when the British took Washington. Hey there, Benny. Isn't it funny that no one cared about this breaking news? Oh, Benny, why'd you have to say that? And T.C. says, Caroline said, there will be shots fired tonight. And look what happened on the Fox station. I'm going to have to go research that. Let me put that on the screen. Thank you, T.C. If anyone wants to acknowledge that and respond. But thank you for that. And Ronald says, didn't hurt my feelings. Peterwood says, oh, I care. I'm glad he's okay. People pray for that man, and I do believe those prayers to protect him. Oh, he's been protected. Absolutely. And TDA says, Mo said helped him by trying to get Trump better ratings. Aaron, yeah, people have become insensitive to say crazy stuff. It seems as if something wild happens every day. Absolutely, every time you turn around. Christopher says Illuminati makes it look good. And Robert says President Trump is putting his own money into the ballroom and the Democrats need to shut up and leave him alone. John says staged. Again, there are a lot of people who feel that way. I cannot say one way or the other. I'm sure in time, the truth will come out. And Peterwood says, oh, the Illuminati is real, but Trump is a Freemason. Ronald says, worst president in the 21st century. And commenter says, protected, so God couldn't have protected the the fireman who was unalived. Okay, sir, watch it. And Jack says, Jesus Christ protecting him. Hey there, King. And there's Jamie, who says, save me from this evil community. And Peterwood says, for real. And Christopher says, LOL, WWE is all staged. And Aaron says, welcome, Aaron. And welcome everyone that's come in. I have an uncle that does Freemasonry. It's relatively common, I believe. Earshot away. Hey there, Space. No one got any supper on appetizers. Now see, all of that food, and I was watching actually how the waiters were cleaning up, and there were people in there looking like, and I have a cracker or something. And Christopher says, Jerry Springer Production and Association. And Wright says, Democrat stage this. And Christopher says, made for TV. Christopher also says, WWE scripted, Jerry Springer Production. Both parties involved Ronald, it was a day of love, Trump said during that insurrection. Hey there, Hmong American MAGA prepper. The Homer Simpson prediction of Trump being no longer with us will not come to pass because God has Trump's back. And Aaron says, should have been given to go boxes. Christopher, LOL. People are gullible reality TV morons. And James, welcome James, says, that is not but one person involved. That is Donald Trump. Wow. Interesting. And welcome, Josephina. Josephina says, Jesus, protect our president. And, oh, Christopher, hold on for a moment. I'm going to have to put you on the summer jam. Says, Rothschild involved. Okay. Anyone want to respond to Christopher? That's an interesting take. Very interesting. Peterwood says, when it comes to the Simpsons writing, those are Harvard graduates. They are all writers. It's called, hold on, let me take Christopher All. Predictive planning. They tell us what they're going to do. And Christopher says Trump is just an actor. BlackRock Rockefeller, oil farmer Vanguard. Miss Hummingbird, welcome, Miss Hummingbird says, fast and pray. And then Jamie says, that's me. So again, those of you that are listening, do you believe this was a planned attack on our President of the United States, Donald Trump? Or do you believe that this is or was another edition of political theater? And Jamie, welcome, Jamie says, 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Jack says, yes. Aaron says, nah. Martin, welcome, Martin says, theater. Peterwood says, was shots fired at the White House? Like, were the shots fired at? I don't know. I don't know if they were shots or not. It sounded like it. It was 4 loud bangs. But again, to me, those security detail, you have to watch the footage and make your own conclusions. But I think they did not act swift enough. Once they got to the president and the first lady, absolutely. But prior to that, no, too much time lapsed, in my opinion. And Robert says, God is using President Trump in a mighty way to turn this nation back to him before it's too late. And Hmong American says, Trump need 5 body doubles as realistic robots. And Nova, hey there, Nova, says he didn't make it farther than the entrance. It was just a psycho who probably was suffering with personal issues and took it out on Trump. Very good perspective. I'm sure that we will know this, if not within the next hour or two, certainly by early morning, no later than 7 or 8 o'clock a.m. Trust me, every journalist They're out there reporting and gathering information as quickly as possible. And Prosperity, welcome Prosperity Ghost says, I don't trust in Homer Simpson's predictions. I trust in Jesus. He is being used by God to save America. That is why his life was spared. And Omartai, welcome Omartai, says, God bless Trump. And David, welcome David, says, time to do something about these Democrats. And Jason says, for sure, theater. And Peter Wood says, what's your opinion on the matter? My opinion is, I don't have one just yet, not a definitive one. I think it's strange and interesting at the same time that all of these things have been happening back to back this week. And then the weekend, we have this. That's my opinion. Aaron says, David, there's plenty of bad actors on both sides of the aisle. I agree with Aaron. So let me pop that up real quick. And Trente says, you spreading fakes. And Anthony says, hi, from America, living in Colombia for 6 years. Well, welcome, Anthony. And MTN for better information. And Nova says, this is not great. And they have done something about Democrats. What happened to the fella with the hammer? And Martin says, it's already too late. Trump screwed up the country. Trente says, where is trial with the Butler PA? Where is trial? 18 months has passed since, and Trump has his own FBI. Where is anything from Butler PA? Someone mentioned that just yesterday. Hey there, Lou. Peter says, what do you think? I would like to know your opinion on it. As I said, I just find everything odd and the timing odd. Looking at the angle that I saw, it's strange. Looking and listening to the people out on the streets, strange. Not hearing any, and I mean not one bit of aircraft when I normally hear it. Strange. Lou says, roaring 20s in the 21st century, huh? Crazy times we live in. Let's pray for world peace. Hi, Miss Lees. Hey there, Mr. Lewis. Absolutely. World peace indeed. Anthony says, hi from America, living in Colombia. And Wilson says, lady, you are part of a cult. Well, I'm glad that you know me, Wilson Morales. To say that I'm part of a cult. I wish I had that gift of knowing a stranger and knowing what they're part of. Kudos to you, Wilson. Jack says, Trump sucks. And Anthony says, thanks. And Peter says, hey, don't say that about her. She's not part of a cult. That is very rude. Thank you, Peter. It's okay. I'm going to get people with comments like that. As you can see, we all at some point in time have to deal with rude individuals. But as the Obamas said, Michelle Obama, as a matter of fact, when they go low, we go high. This is a lot about character. And Joy says, please respect, love, and support. Hit the like and subscribe. Thank you, my beautiful Joy. And Mark says, no staging. Nova says, the violent support from Democrats and Republicans is sad. And if you want an example, look at the treatment the minutes after Alex Pretty passed away. Before, not to go, no info on him or the situation. Absolutely, Nova. Unfortunately, let's see. Welcome, BC, and thank you for your thought. And Peter was there. She's a very nice lady. If you're going to be rude, bro, insult people, she here is not in a cult. Thank you, Peter. And again, it's okay. I've heard worse than that. Trust me. Words don't hurt. They don't. G Medina, welcome. Staged. And White Supreme Pizza. I love the morons claiming staged. And Joy is saying, please respect. Joy, my beautiful, it's okay. You know how certain people are. It's okay. And you have a blessed, beautiful weekend there in the Philippines. It's Sunday for you, so happy Sunday to you. And Robert says, it's Obama and Big Mike. And then Jack says, God teaching America a lesson to never vote for a fool like Trump again. And Dean of Life, welcome Dean, says staged. And Jack says, that's one, well, we can see what Jack says. And Prosperity says, if Trump had not been voted in, our country would have lost to the communist, Marxist, socialist, globalist ideology of radical Democrats. Okay. Any other thoughts or opinions before I close this down? BC says, MAC is still running their mouth and America laughing stock. Mo Real? Really trying for that Oscars award next year. And BC says President Obama, and then MAGA sucks. And then Francis says security crisis because this orange, oh my goodness. None of this happened on this level with Obama or Biden. Interesting perspective. And that came from Nova Wolf. Those of you that are in here, if you would be so kind, please make sure that you are hitting that double tap or the like button, depending upon the device you're listening to. And again, your comments are welcome. Just be respectful. I understand the passion that some people may have, no matter how you feel. But let's not wish bad on anyone. That's a no-no. And Nova says, just goes to show the division a certain man is creating. And Peterwood says, definitely an interesting perspective. And BC says, Trump runs his mouth too much. They're actually, in defense of that, a lot of people, I think, speak a little bit too much, or they speak before they should. And welcome, Barry says, we love Trump. God bless him. There are a lot of people that absolutely do. And I would never discourage anyone from how they feel about an individual. And BC says, I love Jesus, y'all worship man. For those believers that may be in the chat or who may catch the replay, that's a problem, in my opinion, and something that we should remember. We've got to look at the Creator and be careful with that. It is my belief and my being here for as long as I have, man will let you down every time. Every time. And welcome, JTX. Tube says, evil, always trying to stop good. And we have seen a lot of evil this past week, the week prior to that. And again, I just have a feeling that we're going to have a couple more things happen before the end of May. BC says he's evil. JXT says nobody's saying that, BC. And BC says Trump not good. And then BC says y'all elected a felon. JTX, no he isn't. And BC, he's going to hide in his bunker. And Robbie, hey there, Robbie, welcome. Trump goat. And JTX says, Double won't try to attack his own. Yes, we do have a lot of mental illness going on. Hey there, Agus. Politics. Matter free speech. I'm protected under the First Amendment. He'll blame Biden. When MAGA stormed the Capitol, Revelation 2 and 9, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say, you put that up. And America is a joke at the moment. President Obama never went through this. Just this moment, huh? Laughing stock. He's corrupt too, but yeah, I agree. President Obama never did anything to bother anybody. He just never did anything. That's why nobody tried anything on him. Was it worth the time? That last guy was an Alzheimer's patient playing Joe Biden. Just this moment, though, right? It says in the Bible, God says he mocks the mocks all Trump did for 4 years was mock Biden. If you really look at the stuff that Biden did, it's almost the same. Interesting. Peterwood, it's insane. There is no comparison. Hey there, Bonnie. Poor baby. I stand with him. Watch it, Junie Pop. Polls 30%, so expected. That's crazy talker siding with the Islamic terrorists. 2 attempts against, both during his inauguration speech by white Republicans. Trump hasn't had one yet. They're all made up. And BC says, hallelujah, America. Falling. President Obama, 28. America's gonna fall. Obama can't run again. Reality check. Obama looked better than Trump. Okay, it's really not about looks, you all. Trump staged this. If Trump is a Christian, I won't go to church tomorrow. Okay, you all. Obama doesn't know what the heck he was doing. In fact, ask anyone, what the F did he ever do? And Edward. Okay, Edward. Welcome, memory. Trish, staged. Wildheart, welcome. Polls down. Crawl space, welcome. Yes, BC, I do. And Kathleen says totally staged. Nicole says 100% staged. And Crawl says thank you. Anyone claiming this was staged is beyond rational thought. James says Southern poverty strikes again. Well, a lot of people are going to be on different sides of the aisle as it relates to if this was staged or not. Wildheart says he's smart. So, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to look at different angles early because by now I'm sure that, well, I'm sure there are going to be several different angles now from particular news outlets. So, again, you'll have to use your own judgment and timing, body language, reactions, just common sense, really. Let me put that up. Thank you, Kansas. And your opinions to what Kansas says. Prelude to martial law. He just said 2 days ago, Republicans are going to war. Thank you, Kansas, and welcome. Wildheart says Secret Service in on it. Put that up. You all, your thoughts and opinions to Wildheart and his comment. Now, we'll say this Secret Service in 2026 is much different than it was in 2001. BC, that's the question. How? And not just how did he get in, how did the alleged two pieces of equipment get in? When I go to get my checkups, go to the pharmacy, I have to go through a security check. I went to see Lunel at the Baltimore Comedy Factory about 2 weeks ago. All of our bags were checked and we had to go through security. So you tell me. I don't know. Can security miss things? Absolutely. We're human. But this is the President of the United States and the First Lady, the Vice President, and other people of importance. So I would think that security would be at its finest. We shall see. Hey there, Cat Daddy. Hey there, Hector. Now, Cat Daddy, those were some loud champagne bottles. I don't drink, so I wouldn't know. Hey there, Kimberly. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Perhaps it's a Monday, depending upon where you are on the globe. And there are a lot of people in here saying Trump 2028. Ranger could be one of the 15 million he took after their medical. Peter says, why can't I hear anything? I'm just letting you all chit chat. Hector, Trump's no tax tips literally helped the working man. My return went from 500 to 300. And Haley says, too many false flags makes no logical man or woman question. And Nicole says he literally said this is why he needs a new ballroom. He did mention ballroom. Jeff, welcome, Jeff. What does Diddy have to do with this? Or R. Kelly? Lord have mercy. Peterwood says that ballroom was just a way for Trump to get bribes. And Zen, welcome Zen, says, hold on, Trump. And then user says, lock Trump up with Diddy. And BC says they'll be partying in the streets. BC says Obama. And BC says Epstein files. That's why he mentioned ballroom construction. And Zen said Trump wouldn't. And Joe says, are your tips salary? Nicole says, MAGA eats, Trump lies. Like, like it's candy. How pathetic. BC says, President Obama never was attacked like this. And Darpin, welcome Darpin, says Obama, what Boris? And then Nicole corrects and says Trump's. And then BC says, Turnip, running to Russia for vacation. And Zen says, the past is the past. Wake up, America. BC says Trump. Hector says, no tax on overtime rewards. Hardworking Americans, sorry, you can't buy Oreos with your EBT card. And BC says, BC says, I can. No, I would be EBT. Wood says, I can. Okay, be careful, Wood, before someone reports you. But I live in a Democratic. I live in a Democratic state. Hector says, I bet. And then BC says, EBT, better eat today. And then BC says, I get mine every month. Lord have mercy, y'all are funny. And then, hold on. Wood says, Now my eyes are watering. So when Biden supported no tax on tips back in 2024, why did Republicans get so mad? And then what says all the alleys and the signs at the corners? Hook them up. That's too funny. And that's probably true. No. Phew, that was a good one. Oh, Lordy. Oh, mm-mm-mm. Phew, that was funny. That was a good one. Okay, Nicole says, excuse my type. Oh my goodness, okay. And so I would Lord, you better change your name, Wood, because somebody's gonna cut your card and benefits off. Because trust me, somebody from the clouds probably trying to figure out who you are now so they can get their Oreos too. Phew. And BC says, here I come. Oh my goodness. Oh, Lord. Right says, fight, fight, fight. And Fred, hey there, Fred, myself, I called you Fred, it's fixed. I'm sorry, my eyes are literally full of tears from laughing. Oh my God. Lord have mercy. I had to block Wood. All right, let me get to your comments. If I can see, Lord have mercy. Okay. Oh boy. Nicole said, oh, she's good. Bill says, my stomach hurts. I'm older now. I hope I don't accidentally let one go from all this laughing. So if I put it on mute, I'll be back. And you all have to admit, that was funny. Okay, let me try to be serious now. PC says, Putin invite him to Russia for a vacation. Nicole is laughing, and Peter says, I'm sorry. And Alice says, he's still with us, yes. And Wright says, sounds like Kamala laughing. And then BC says he talked about Biden look. And then Carl says, Mr. President, you need to go down. Oh, I can't put that up there. Joe says psycho. And then Wood says, okay, I will stop now. And here's the pen fell off running. Whew, that was funny. All right, let's see. And Neo says he looks like he's tap dancing. And Big Poppy says Black MAGA. And BC says, I love you. I love you too. All right. Hector says, Southern Poverty Law Center cut funding to triple Ks. And right back to you says, you're really gonna be mad in 2028 when Trump wins again. And BC says, Black MAGA, y'all ain't black. MN resist, unlike the MAGA fools. Nicole says, Trump always looks at this is your king. BC says, Tom Walsh laughing. Hey there, JS. JS says Trump only cares about enriching himself and his family and donors, not you. And then Hector says, nope. And BC says, free him. Wildheart says, let's treat him as important as he treats children being taken out by attacks. And BC says, Harris laughing. She warned y'all. Sarah is laughing. Would you still? Would I think you must have taken a break to go check the balance on your card? Wood says, Trump just says what he knows that they want to hear, goes into his pockets. None of your business. Hey there, Nunya. He doesn't care about anybody but himself and his rich friends. And who else is in here? In God we trust. Hey there, in God we trust. Happy Sunday to you, says God saves Trump again. And Peterwood says, I mean, she did say he would go after his political enemies, and he's been doing just that. And then BC says, God hates Trump. Now, hate is a strong word there, BC. I don't think he hates anyone. He may dislike, put it this way, the good book. And believers, I believe, hold in their heart of hearts that it is the sin that is not loved, not the sinner. And Wild Bear, or Wild Heart, see, Wood has me discombobulated, says Caroline said that there would be shots. And BC says they think Trump is a Christian, no church. Okay, that was way ahead. Let me go further down. JS says, if God sent Trump, he must be running. See, y'all are going to get me messed up. And O'Reilly says, MAGA Latinos. And Nicole says, he also posted that crazy photo of him as Jesus. God doesn't like blasphemy. Peterwood says, God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten son, so whoever believes in him will have everlasting life. Yes, John 3:16. Amen. Amen. And BC says he's going to deport MAGA Latino. Now, see, BC, be careful now. And Aura says Latinos for President Trump 2028. And then Gregory says FDT. And Joy is still here. And then Hector says blacks for Trump. And then Wood says, do you know the corner store will also get 50% cash for my stamps if I want to sell them to Seawood? You're going to get yourself and those that you give your business to in a world of trouble. You're going to get them on the news. Trust me, somebody's probably looking for your card right now. And Wildheart says any Latino for that man is without any morality. And Gregory says, not all blacks for Trump. And then JS says, missed again. And BC says, lying off President Obama's accomplishments. And Donna says, was he? I don't believe so. And Roy says, welfare recipients, Democrats. And Glow says, yeah, Trump is too sassy. Nicole says, so now Trump is a black god? Y'all gonna burn in hell. And MAGA Latinos, Trump 2028. Obama 28. And Grandies says, hold on, y'all moving too fast. Libs are disgusting. Okay, JS says Nobel Prize. And God We Trust says MAGA Army comes in all colors. And he puts an array of colors. Okay. And Wildheart says fools will fall. And then BC says, not me. I'm not MAGA. Thank God. And Glow says Trump is king. And then HV says higher. And Latinos for president again, 2028. And God We Trust says this is MAGA. And then Peter says to BC, LOL, that's a funny joke. I lived in New York, so I get it. Grandy says regular liberals need to call out these radical libbies. Nicole says MAGA is just American stupidity at its finest. Wood says, ever heard of ideological subversion? And Hector says, half black, but I bet he only identifies as black. And MAGA Latinos for president. Okay, Ori, I've heard you like 5 times now. Zen says regular Republicans need to call out radical right racists. And Hector says nobody owes you anything. Wild Heart says Latinos had better wake the F up. He wants Latinos gone. All of them. Peterwood says, I know, bro. Calm down. And In God We Trust says Southern Poverty Law cut funding. Welcome, David. Ultra MAGA, America First. Found worthy. Welcome. Zen, God forgives all. And then Sid Life is here. And shows leftists are loony. Wood says, if not, well, welcome to the USA, the land of the corrupt. No one cares as long as they're paid. That's actually funny. It's funny because a lot of things that you said earlier, even though you had me cracking up, it's true. It's true. I'm not far from DC. I mean, literally, not far from DC at all. And I've seen it all. I've seen it all. Certain people get around so-called rules. And Anthony, welcome, Anthony says, it was staged. And Peterwood says, I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that to the man that keeps saying the same thing 5 times now in a row. I know. I'm gonna let him and get everything off of his chest. And if it continues, then I'm going to put him in timeout. And Zen says billionaires are laughing. And Nicole says, oh, and by the way, black unemployment has increased under Trump. As of December 2025, MAGA can't even lie. And Hector says, first term before Biden effed it up. Wood says Latinos for Trump, as Trump sent them all home. He drank the Kool-Aid. And Ironhead, hey there, Ironhead, we got a clean house of domestic terrorists. And Hector says, get a job. And God We Trust says that the only thing worse than National Socialism is international socialism. And Democrats are probably upset that God protect Trump. I wouldn't say that. I would hope there would not be that type of evil. Hey there, Israel Hernandez. Antonio. And the thing worse than that is one practicing, hold on, delivery from the White House. We call him Captain Crunch. Nicole says most of us have jobs. Get a functioning brain and act like a man for once in your pathetic life. And Ironhead says it wasn't Kool-Aid. Wood is laughing. And Lane or Linnell, welcome. Happy Sunday to you. Says every time Trump's numbers is dropping, the polls magically, there's another attempt. What a bunch of dung. And Peterwood says, hey, that's not funny about Jonestown. A lot of people passed away, and innocent people passed away as well. Indeed. Then there's a comment from Jerkin, I believe. He's an idiot. And God We Trust says, don't feed the animals. And Hector says, or the left is just nuts. Ironhead says, yeah, Jim Jones used a knockoff brand called Flavorade, and everyone says Kool-Aid, which is false. I think over 900 people perished in that horrible, horrible time in history. I do believe, I did a story on that, but I believe it was well over 900 people. Absolutely. Yes, Peter Wood. Yes, that's right. Innocent children. And when a lot of people began to wake up, it was too late. They couldn't leave. They couldn't leave. Bubba. Hey, Bubba, how are you? $4 gas. Well, in DC, it's inching up to almost $5 now. And I imagine if something doesn't change quickly, By the time the next holiday, God willing, comes around, it's going to be nearly $6, if not $6. Hi there, Kathy. Happy Sunday to you and welcome. Kathy says, gee, I wonder when they're going to release the Epstein files. Kathy, I think unfortunately that's going to be, or it has been pushed under the mat. We've had a lot of things that came out this week, and tonight, or last night, we're in a new day now, at least for many of us, that this is going to line journalists for now. Hi there, I'm okay. Gas is only $3.45 where I am. Okay, well, that's good. Hopefully it'll get a little bit better here. And Peterwood says $3.89 here in Florida. And Zen says Trump is not for peace. And Wood says Obama set it up. How? And Antonio Johnson says, I'm sure J.D. Vance is hoping that he has a major health event. Oh, that was mean. You want to see J.D. Vance at the helm? Wow. And Ironhead says Melania has her own security detail. Antonio says, however, I think it's possible that not even Satan wants his soul. We might be stuck this time. Demand Company. Hey there, Demand, or DM and CO. Welcome. Happy Sunday to you. Trump left a Melania to fend for herself. Obama would have never done that. And Doof says, welcome, Doof. It's a false flag, but the individual passed away. Also, they have him in custody. I believe I read that right, and I don't see how that's possible. 370 in New Hampshire. Unfortunately, Obama gave Iran billions of dollars, and they enriched uranium with it. Dude, got to cover all bases. And Stephen, welcome, Stephen says, I love Trump. And I wonder how they got paid. The past happened. Trump is in control. Move forward with compassion and compromise. And what I know, that is what the media said. The media said a lot. And then when Cash Patel came in there, well, leave that alone. Hey there, Java Queen. And David says, hold on. Big Mike wouldn't have even been there. And Nicole says, dang, MAGA really is that stupid. Java says, is everyone, they're okay. It appears that everyone is okay, and there was no loss of life, so that's always a good thing. And Peter says the Bible says to pray for our leaders, absolutely, and to respect our leaders. God put these people in power for a reason and in control of everything. Yes, but Peter, we have to be careful with that because sometimes evil has titles that are not in alignment with the Creator, in my opinion. And Jabba says, "Oh God, I hope Trump be okay." He's just fine, Jabba Queen. He and his wife were safely evacuated. And he held a press conference earlier, which I played at the top of the broadcast. And James says, Trump had on a bow tie. Where's this red tie come from? It's just a picture. And he's normally in a long red tie. And Harlem said, "Man, China, yeah." And James, this is, yes, it is. And Peter says, "That is true." And Tube says, "Oh, this is a MAGA party or a normal human being party." And Jabba Queen says, "It's get him safe now." He's safe. Trust me, he's safe. He should probably be in bed, sleep right now, letting the people that he's hired, that he's selected, take care of all of this madness. And Zen says, Trump is a fool paid by, and Wood says, AI created to fool the older generation and the last person. And the last generation who actually has some sense. Hector says, "Yes, Nicole, we are all equal. American citizens of all types love Trump." And Zen says, "Trump is not safe." Well, he's safe for tonight or this morning. And David says, "There's a photo of the press stealing champagne bottles during the evacuation." Those people that were inside, to me, they looked like they were like, "Wait a minute, I thought we were going to have a good dinner, an expensive dinner." But the waiters were cleaning up. And Wood said, "I showed my grandma." She nearly had a heart attack thinking, "Sorry, Grandma, my bad." And Java says, "Thumbs up." Hey there, depositing scholar. Happy Sunday, happy Sunday to you. I hope you are doing well. And Zen says, Trump needs to account for a, and hurry up and grab the bubbly. Well, one thing for sure, they didn't need any EBT for that. That would have been looting. And I'm not sure if you're kidding or not, but I'm sure somebody may have tried to sneak, as 50 cents said, a bottle of bub out of there with them. Oh my God. Oh gosh. And Marvin, hey there, Marvin. Happy Sunday to you. Do you people, now you have to be very careful when you say you people, do you people even care that Trump is raping and pillaging this country in front of your eyes? Corruption is his middle name. Marvin, I think a lot of people care about a lot of things that are alleged and a lot of things that have been proven to be true. Peter says more often. And Loving Mayberry. Hey there, loving. Happy Sunday to you, says another staged distraction. And what's selling a same bottle on eBay. Does eBay still exist? I remember a long time ago, I kid you not, when I first started in the government, one of the first things we used to investigate as it relates to fraud were people actually selling on eBay. And this, like I said, was a long time ago. The smart trip cards, when you were a government employee, you were given smart trip cards to use to get backward and forth to work, but there were actually government employees selling the smart trip cards on eBay. That is a true story. And Nicole is laughing. And Israel says, we love you too, Nicole. And Hood says, are people aware of the misinformation campaigns? And David said the dude had two bottles in his hands. That's funny. And Java says, yay, they finally got him in custody. Java, they had him in custody, or the individual in custody, when President Trump was giving his press briefing. When he gave his press briefing, he stated that they were going or had gone to an apartment, and allegedly the individual may have been from California. So that's what he stated at the early part of the press conference. Somebody else put bottles in the chat. Antonio, that was very mean. So I'm not even going to read that. And Wood says David is watching. I can't even imagine what is out there now. Oh my God. Yes, he is okay. Thank you, Joy. Joy is still hanging in there. How is it out there, Joy, in the beautiful Philippines? It was a little bit rainy and breezy today. Okay, Antonio. Hector says, we forgive you for you know not what you do. Nicole, have they released a photo of this individual yet? Since he's been apprehended? I don't know. Well, I wonder if Cash Patel's FBI has been able to make that happen. Hey there, Ken. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Wow, he's not too popular with some people. That's with every president. There's some people like certain things, Some people dislike certain things. Bye, Peter. Enjoy the remainder of your Sunday, and God willing, the remainder of this weekend. Wood says Cole Allen Thomas is his name. Oh, wow. Wood, you're better than a lot. I haven't even had a chance to look at anything. I'm going to end this stream in a little. Oh, my goodness. I didn't realize it was already over 2 hours. Wow. Okay. Hey there, she. Or Shay. Happy Sunday to you and welcome. And Wood says Cole Thomas Allen. See, Wood, I think you've been sipping on that bub. Cole Thomas Allen, sorry, from California. And Israel says no, but I can guess he or she had acute TDS and TAA. And Hector says, ugh, eye roll. And Nicole asks, is he white? And Iron is Tomas or Thomas. Antonio, says, or maybe Elon put the guy up to it since him and Trump broke up. He's been like a bitter ex. And Hector says, California. And Wood says, Tomas. Why always me? What a lie. Staged. Interesting. Well, we'll see what happens with that. So, Wood, has there been any manifestos or any social media findings that he was going to do something like this, or any groups or programs they found, like Telegram or these underground type settings yet? Antonio says, or maybe Epstein is really alive. Wood says, Antonio, you're watching too much conspiracy content. And Nicole says, bro, read the files. He's still alive, and he's probably working for Trump. And Antonio says, maybe it still could be true. Hector is rolling his eyeballs again. And my beautiful sister Joy from the Philippines, thank you so much. Shout out to you. Joy says, respect, love, and support. Hit like and subscribe. Spread love to the host. Happy weekend, everyone. Absolutely. Happy weekend, my beautiful Joy from the Philippines. Shout out to Joy. Zen says, FDT cheated and his pregnant wife. And Antonio says there's no way Epstein's walking around America, but he's clearly would be in Israel, since one, he wasn't Israel's spy like Maxwell's father. Interesting. And Zen says, not for me to support a fool like Trump. And Wood says, I mean, I thought about it. Anything is possible. Can't really trust our own government. So good point. Interesting. Interesting. Well, it has been very good to commune with each and every one of you on this, well, what was breaking news earlier last evening, Saturday evening. It is now Sunday here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital of the United States. I am going to be closing down, but thank you all so much for joining. Thank you to those who made me laugh, and I'm sorry, but that EBT comment was too funny, and I'm human, and it was funny, so I had to laugh, and it was a good one. Felt good too. Again, your comments, whether you agree or disagree, whether you are a supporter of our president or not, thank you so much for your engagement, and I'm sure more information has been gathered since we've been live and will be disseminated at some point later on today. Everyone, I see y'all are still going for it in the chat. Enjoy, as I mentioned, the remainder of your Sunday. Some of you, it may still be Saturday, so enjoy the remainder of your Saturday. Happy Sunday to those of you that are already in Sunday. And I'm sure I'll be reporting again tomorrow. As I mentioned, I may, no promises. I may go down to the White House tomorrow or the Capitol to see if there are any protests and people walking around with signs. There normally are during the weekends, and if so, I'll go live to show you all what the people, at least some in Washington, D.C., has to say about this latest news story. Blessings to each and every one of you. Love and hugs to Joy, my beautiful mod, and any other mods that came in. Mr. Lewis, thank you so much again for your support, the subscribers, and to everyone that came out, showed and expressed how you felt about this and some other things that I didn't ask for, but it's okay. It's all good. Good night, everyone. It's okay. Until next time, everyone, be blessed. Bye-bye, and thank you.
I know you lying. I know you lying. I know you lying. I know you lying. I know you Welcome to my show. I said, welcome to my show. Yo, give yourselves a round of applause for making it to and through another day, because as we know, each day is a blessing, so always begin by giving thanks. I am so happy to be with you again for this latest broadcast. If you would be so kind, please make sure that you drop a like, perhaps hype, comment, and share. Your engagement is extremely appreciated. You are extremely appreciated, and I enjoy receiving and reading your comments. Let me remind you of the Fair Use Act that says copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976 allows mad for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news, reported, teaching, education, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. You know, I understand, oh, I understand how passionate some may be. I only ask that you respect this platform, the moderators, the chat, and me. Oftentimes, the subject matter will require a viewer disclaimer. And as always, I implore you to do your own research. That being said, relax and enjoy the show. My name is Lisa, and it's good to be with you again.